Hello guys, Wahoo here, back with another video. This time around an update to build guides that I have on my channel. And you might be wondering why I'm doing a new build guide when none of the builds actually have updated or there's any changes to them at all. If there were, I would make other kinds of videos, but I'm making this overall video about both the builds, but also about stats, because I see a lot of people asking about stats and what stats are good enough and stuff like that. I just want to make a quick guide for that, and then talk about stats also as well afterwards. So the reason why I'm doing a 2020 build guide update is that basically all the guides still works, but they are getting pretty old. So when people look for them on the internet, they see them maybe from 2018 and say, oh, that's 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever you guys are watching this video. But the guides, the build guides has not changed since then, but people look again and think they're maybe too old and not work anymore. So I wanted to make this little, I guess you can also call it an announcement about that the build still is the same. There hasn't changed or anything like that. They still work like that. So with that said, I can go over each and every stats that has some kind of value to the game, so you guys can actually see what kind of stats you want. And these stats values apply to all of them. But if you want to see specific build guides, you have to go to the other build guides that I have on my channel. If you want to see what gems I'm using and basically breaking down every single class in more detail. This is going to be like overall, basically a overall view video, if you can call it like that. So with that said, let's jump into the very first stat. Alright, so the very first stat is of course your main stat, and the main stat is what is the first two up above here. It's either physical damage or a magic damage characters. Most ranged characters are magic, and most of them melee characters are physical, but again, I'm breaking down that in every single class guide, so go check that out. I'm just talking about specific stats. So with these here, these are basically never-ending stats, if you can call them like that. You just want as much physical damage or magic damage, again depending on what class you're playing, as you can get. So there's not really a set number to what stat you want or what is good enough, if you know what I mean. I have about 300,000. I would say above 200,000, that's a good start. I'm setting them a little bit lower because I don't want people to lose confidence in what they're doing when playing the game. But I'm also not putting them like at, hey, if you have one magic damage or one physical damage, whatever you need, you're good enough. So I don't want to underwhelm it either. So I think 200,000 is a good start. Again, it's never ending, so the more you can get, like this is not even maybe like in quote unquote good enough, but this is a good start as well. So that's the physical and the magic damage. So with those out of the way, we can jump into the next stat. So the next stat we have is health, and I see a lot of people posting about this or asking me about health, and you don't want any health at all. If you can avoid it, go away from it as much as you can, because we have this thing called the death-defying veil, and death-defying veil basically makes it so you can't die if you take lethal damage. So you can take damage, but you won't die if you were supposed to do so, and it just automatically uses itself when you are supposed to die. There's a few mechanics in the game. For example, Daughter Moon's one-shot mechanic with her sword can bypass this effect here, and you can also die when you run out of charges. I have 15 charges. When I run out of those, you are going to lose or die basically, but you can go back to your club, cornerstone, whatever it is, and refill these potions again. Even the hub you can go back to, refill these potions before you die. So that's why health does not matter at all. It's a good thing to to have some health, but you don't want to go for it at all. Any class don't want health, except if you want to try to go max health for some kind of class. It won't help you. It did work on the Revenant at one point because he scaled with health, but he does not do that anymore. He is also just pure damage as all the other classes are. So max health is very not a stat you want. You are gonna get it from somewhere. As you can see, I have like 600,000. But you don't want any health at all, as low as you can go. But you do get sometime one shot by stuff. But it will help on many abilities that you won't die on that. So that was the health stat and the reasoning by why you don't want, or you want as little as you can get from this here stat. So let's move on to the next stat. All right, so the next stat is crit hit, and crit hit is very, very important. It is the stat you probably want to, get in line first, because you can have as much crit damage, which I'm also going to cover in a little bit, and also as much, damage you will always do, but if you have 100% crit hit, all your crits or your hits will be crits. That's what it basically means, but 100%. So you want to get as close as you can get to 100%, preferably over the 100%, as I have here 1.1%. You don't want to go over, let's say 103%. If you get up to like 104, 5, whatever, then you should dial it back and see where is it that you have that 100, or where you have those extra crit hit. It can be from your ring. You can get it from there. You can, maybe it's some of your gear, or some of your gems, basically. Could also free from there. So maybe you have to move some of the boosts that are on the stats. I have made a video on how to re-roll your gems and stuff like that. It is on the channel under all the tutorials and stuff like that. So how to move boosts around on gems so you can min-max your crit hit is very important to hit that close as you can get to that 100%. So I have 101. I would of course like to be exactly 100, but it's kind of hard to do so, and getting 101 is decent, is fine enough for me, as not going completely min-max for this. But crit hit 100% for all classes, that's a given, because we want all our hits to be crits. So with that said, I think we can jump on to the next stat, which is going to be the crit damage. As I said, the next stat is the crit damage, and crit damage is, of course, the one that's right below the crit hit. And when you have 100% crit hit, crit damage becomes relevant, because then all your damage gets scaled, of course, from your main stat, but also from your crit damage. And I only have 1,800. You do want to have at least over like 2K. That's a high number. But you can go with a little bit lower than that, I assume. But you want to go as much as you can with the crit damage. There's not a number, just like the your physical damage or your magic damage. Crit damage is also an infinite number. You want to just get as much as you can from that, without slacking on your main stat. Of course, keeping your 100% crit hit, and then get as much crit damage as you want. Most of my gems is, if I can get one right there, is the magic damage, crit damage, and crit hit. And the boosts are 100% not on the crit hit. I think when you have all your gems looking like this, they should have the boost on either the boost on magic damage, or 2 on crit damage, and none on the crit hit. If you are, just below that 100%, it is a good idea to move one of the boosts to the crit hit if you are missing a little bit, so you get overall that thing. So I think that's all I can say about the crit damage. The next stats I want to talk about is the light stat. Alright, so the next stat is the light stat, and light is the new stat of them all. I have a video on the channel as well on breaking down what is light and what is dark, so I'm just gonna cover like I guess the light side of the stat proportions. So light is basically armor penetration. It works for you know, all the monsters against monsters in the, you know, Geo top side, U8, 9, and 10. And it also is going to work for Delve later on when that comes out. It doesn't work from the rest of the world. The rest of the world is basically, this is, I guess that's their own stat. Even Shadow Towers, would you be like, hey, doesn't Shadow like or light counter Shadow? But it doesn't. It's not. This doesn't work in the Shadow Towers. Just wanted to mention that it's only in Geo top side, not in the caves. Not in the caves. Caves have nothing to do with light. But in the Geo top side worlds, these are where you want your light. It does not say required light anymore because I have enough light to go here. But it does normally say that it requires you a certain amount of light to go here. So the light stat is very important for fighting Levian, the Levy bosses, as they're also shortened names of, and you want to hit around 5.5 thousand light, as I have right here, on any class you are using if you are going U10. There's a few other, I don't know what the numbers are exactly for U8 and 9, but it's for 10, it's at least a 5.5, and you know, you just want to aim for as much light as you can get. And if you are invited to a U8 boss or U9 boss, just ask how much it is. And if it's not, then you should not hit the boss. Because basically how the boss works is that it has a maximum of how many people can hit it. And you can take up a slot for somebody else that actually has enough light to defeat it. And so I have chosen my Dino Tamer to be my light character. So basically what I did is that all these you know, cosmic gems are re-rolled into the light stats. So all the bumps are on the light stats here. Of course, I have some, you know, Crystal 3 gear, where of course it's not completely. I can get, you see, I can get a little bit more, you know, stats increase on the face here. So the same thing with the helmet, but I just chose not to go anymore because I hit the 5.5. And also with the temporary torches or with the permanent torches, you know, I can get, you know, a good amount over there. I can get up to at least, I would say like 7,000 or approximately like that light. I don't even know what the max is of the light, but it doesn't really matter. At least you just need that 5.5 thousand light to go there. So 5,500 is the thing you want to aim for to get the up there. So if you don't really feel comfortable like going into a U8 or 9 with not enough light, the point is that you can always ask people there. That's what I meant by if you don't know how much you want, you can always ask people there how much you need for those. But I know that 5.5 is what you need for U10 because that was what I aimed for, and then that was what people have calculated that you need. So 5.5 is what you want, and yeah, I think that's all I really can say about the light. And you just want, if you're not going to your top side, you don't really need it. Like I said, the rest of the world is not needed for doing so. But if you want your crystal gear and stuff like that, also if you want to, like I said, go delve, you do want to get this. But we are getting a boost to light through your Geared Mastery. Depending on how much Geared Mastery you have, you are going to get X amount of light for just having the mastery there. So you will get light out of the Geared Mastery as well. So you might see an increase to your light when the Delve update hits the servers. So I think that's all I wanted to say about like the main stats. I want to do a few other stats as well. The Miscellaneous, I would call them, stats. I just talked about the main stats that you want to look for, which is of course the main stat, your health, well, I wanted to mention health because people are really obsessed about it, and I wanted to make sure that people understood that. I didn't cover attack speed. I will do that in a little bit. Crit hit and crit damage is also very super important. And of course the light is because all of this is damage, and that's what you need to go through. So let's head into the miscellaneous stats. Alright, so the miscellaneous stats are here, and let's cover all of these. So first of all, there is the max energy and the energy regen. It doesn't really matter too much for any class except for the maybe for the Dark Light and stuff like that. But all the classes that I that uses or has some kind of significance out of this stat is covered in the individual build guides that I have made. Movement speed, well, movement speed is movement speed. I really don't want to talk much about that. Jumps are really something people are really keen on, and I do want to talk about jumps before. Let me see if I can find it. Is it this? Yes. Okay. So in the hub, there is a guy called I think he's called Salty Sam. Salty Sam, it has a crafting table right close to his little shop there, where you can craft all of these boots. And all you need is an old boot, and you can fish that up, or I think you can also buy them from the marketplace. I'm not sure, but you can at least obtain it by fishing, and it's pretty common to get one. That's what I mean. And you can use one of these old boots, and in the future it might even have been removed, and you basically just craft them. Who knows? But these are pretty awesome because this one straight up just gives you 8 jumps, and it's really super easy to get. I think the other ones also, this one gives 8 jumps as well. 8 jumps, 8 jumps, and 8 jumps. And then they of course has some bonus stats to them. So of course this is just a regular one. It's probably like the simple ones to craft, and this one is a little bit more better. But you do get 8 jumps, and 8 jumps is plus the 2 ones you have from the start. You have 10 jumps. So jumps are super easy to get just by that. And then later on you're going to get jumps from dragons, from other places and stuff like that, and maybe even rings. I have one with the ring because the Dino Tamer really doesn't use anything besides the jumps that you can get as a second stat, and you can get crit hit, but I do have it all up there, so I don't really need to do so. What else can we talk about? We can talk about the attack speed. Attack speed is fairly useful for a few classes. It's not something you really want to go for actually much, but it's useful for a few classes. Gunslinger, what else? Pirate Captain, Fate Trickster, Ice Age probably also. But most of all, it's not super useful for other classes like the Shadow Hunter when he gets the class gem and stuff like that. But I break that also down in every single build guide, so I don't want to cover that too much. But attack speed is nice to have, but you shouldn't go for it if you can avoid it. So don't go too much into that if you are slacking on the other stats that I covered in before. Superstition is just a it's just a fun stat that they introduced in April Fool's, and it just stuck around. It's basically what it means is that the more superstition you have, the more chance you have to, uncover something very crazy or something like that. That's what they say, but basically it doesn't do anything. But people tend to, there's some tinfoil hats that are basically saying that this is something, and if you ask the devs, they say, oh yeah, it's definitely maybe something, maybe not. It is, yes it is, and then yeah, you don't really know. But that is superstition if you're wondering what basically that is. Magic Find, I have a guide on Magic Find. I have both an old one and an updated one for further on and stuff like that. So Magic Find, if you want to, that's also on the channel. Make sure you check that out. And Lasermancy is, of course, how fast you can do that. You get that through your, mastery ranking up. Flask capacity is how many flasks you can get. Experience gain is, of course, experience. And because we have 100% extra experience, mine is on 200% right now. And I think that's all there is to the stats. Oh, also, of course, health regen. I missed that one. Stability. Sorry, I also talked about that one. But let's take the health regen first. The health regen is nothing you want to go for either. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get enough health regen to outlast a one-shot hit or something like that. So don't worry about the health regen. It's nice to have, but don't like think about it at all. If you have some, fine, but don't like go for it at all. Also, stability, you don't want to go for that either. Basically, what it does is just you get reduced knockback when you get hit, and you can always run back, and it's a nice quality of life stat if you don't like getting knocked back, but it doesn't really matter that much. You are going to defeat things way faster than that it can defeat you, and sometimes it is going to push you back, but then you can just like take those extra few steps and it's going to do that. So stability is nice if you can get it from somewhere that doesn't not slack on, again, your crit hit, your crit damage, or your your main stat, or your light either. Then you of course take some stability. It's not a per se a bad stat. There's just some that are so much more crucial. I couldn't say that. Crucial for your further, further in your building of your characters. Sorry for the stumble of words there, but anyways, I think that's all I covered. I think this video became a little longer than I actually expected it to be, but I wanted, like I said, to do a update for so people could see that it was made in 2020, and they can see that they can find all of these here guides. So anyways, enough rambling, enough chit-chatting. Let's end the video. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.